On the honeymoon phase, clearly over, ladies and gentlemen, at the White House, as we have been discussing today. The president once again ignoring reporters. The third time in a week in the midst of multiple bruising crises. His poll numbers, as you know, keep going south, headline after headline, showing how bad things are for the commander-in-chief, at least the image. Now President Biden facing a new wave of criticism from the one place you would not expect, his friends in the liberal mainstream media.
Right now, the honeymoon's over. We're so glad to see you, Joe Biden. That's kind of how this year started. The problem is that he put himself in a position where he made big, bold claims about the rest of the agenda. And then he steps on a rake, and then he slips on a banana peel, and then he falls down the stairs with some marbles. And now people are looking at him in a negative light.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, Katie, that's Van Jones. That's not Tucker Carlson. And if Van Jones is saying the honeymoon's
they look
over,
exactly the same.
Must be true.
Yeah, well, he said that Joe Biden fell down the stairs. He literally fell up the stairs. So maybe that was an indication of how things were going to go. But in terms of his agenda, he's looking at being a lame duck president very early on. He's having a very hard time getting his Build Back Better agenda passed. Bernie Sanders came out today saying they're not budging. Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin saying we're not budging either. So for someone who promised to unite the country, he can't even unite Democrats around his agenda. But the real question for people like Van Jones is, what did you expect? I mean, Joe Biden is a guy who really didn't do much when he was in the Senate in terms of getting really big pieces of legislation passed. He did a few things here and there that then the left turned on him for, like the 1994 crime bill. And people warned about this. And they said that he was a guy who could bring everyone together because he had 40 years of Washington experience. But he's proving that he actually is a bureaucrat of the system and he really can't get things done that he promised on the campaign trail.
In that regard, Dana, he needed, it's not like he was FDR with the great 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House of Representatives. He has the narrowest margin maybe in history. He needed popularity to get anything done. He got through those first emergency measures, but everything else now bogging down. Isn't it a fact that he basically is a lame duck in a sense?
Well, from the beginning, what they should have been doing is setting expectations for people, saying, especially the progressives, like, I know that you would like to do all of these things. It is not going to be possible. So let's do what is feasible. Let's try to get this done in advance so we could try to grow our majority. That would have been the smart thing. Instead, they're talking about $3.5 trillion, and even the giveaways, people aren't even into that. And then the other two things that are happening is that we're not arguing about universal childcare or free community college. People are focused on the fact they can't get out of the grocery store for less than $100. And they're being told that their home heating bills are going to go up 53% over last year, and that their kids aren't going to get the Christmas presents that they want this year. The other thing is, he doesn't take questions. Reporters of all stripes, they have two sacred cows, access and process. They give them neither. And so at this point, what are we left arguing over? Tweets. And the deeper the hole gets, the harder it is for him to get out of it.
Don't you think, though, a lot of it is just image? Greg, my point is, here's the guy. He's fumbling around. The stock market went up over 500 points today. A couple of big days like that, and this will be last week's story.
I'm not so sure because, it's like entropy. All the things starts falling apart. It's hard to get that stuff back in. This honeymoon was over faster than Ilhan Omar and her brother.
That is the snottiest
That's
thing.
pretty fast.
Yes, it is. But it might just be on pause because the moment that they can rechristen Joe as the comeback kid on Geritol, they will. But I don't know if it really matters because it doesn't matter to him because he served his purpose, right? He won. It's a good this problem is a good problem for the Democrats. They got to figure out now what do they do. And he's like, what else do I have to do for you? I won. You guys run the country. I'm going to go swim naked in the pool. So I don't know.
What a visual.
Yeah. Well, people have seen it.
Secret Service agents.
Yes.
I still believe that Afghanistan poisoned everything.
I do too.
And once the air of invulnerability was pierced, once the veil was pierced, now it's going to be death by 1,000 blows, 1,000 cuts.
And to Dana's point, you remember Barack Obama came out with the one big thing? It was Obamacare. And that was able to unite all of the Democrats around one single thing. Joe Biden took 16 different things from these liberal wish list and just shoved it all into one spending bill that costs trillions of dollars, so no one even knows what we're fighting for.
He was supposed to unify us over unity. But
Right.
remember that?
But see,
Right. And also the real reason, Geraldo, and I know you agree with this, is because Democrats know that Joe Biden doesn't have the political talent to get himself out of this mess. He's not Clinton. He's
in
not
that regard.
Obama. He's
Okay.
not Trump, Geraldo. You remember how down Donald Trump was during his presidency? You see him
How
in
down
February.
in terms of his personality?
Polling. Look at February 2020. He'd beaten impeachment. 50% approval rating in Gallup.
For 10 minutes.
He'd wiped ISIS off the
Isn't
map.
this the problem?
And he was
Well, yeah,
cruising.
that's a damn question.
All right. You already asked one. How many do you want?
Well, this is.
right.
I show you that. You know.
go ahead.
Anyway,
Show
the
me something.
progressives
Yes.
have now taken over in a coup the Democratic Party. Isn't Biden's real problem, aside from the tactical stuff, that AOC and they've become the moral center of the party?
There was no coup. The left is the Democrat Party. We're only talking about a handful of so-called moderates who still want trillions in spending.
But Biden
about to
forgot
lose.
who he was. Don't you think that he
Biden
forgot
lied
who he
about
was?
who he
I don't
was.
know.
He
I
was
don't
never
think
a
so.
moderate. He was there as a Trojan horse, and now the horse has come up lame.
Geraldo, you know this is true because if you look at the headlines, it says moderates in the Senate holding up Biden's agenda,
Right. Yeah.
which
Right.
proves that Joe Biden is actually
Made a
the
choice.
radical
Yeah,
one.
he's with Bernie on this, Geraldo.
Well, you got Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. That's the moderates in the
That's
Senate,
Well, not Joe
true,
Biden.
People.
but not Joe Biden.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.